What is something that is illegal, but isn't wrong ethically? Playing on a playground after it closes, usually after 8 or 9 p.m. Playgrounds have opening hours? Guessing this is in America. Sleeping in your car. If I am late and feel exhausted, I should be able to park on the side and sleep for a bit. Driving tired is apparently more dangerous than driving drunk. Credentialing laws. 4 things that don't carry much danger if you do them incorrectly. For example, requiring a license to be a florist. And yet, few places require any sort of test to be an automotive mechanic. A field that can very easily maim and kill. As a mechanic, I can confirm some people should not be doing it. We all share the same roads. Making an adaptation of a piece of media from your grandparents' childhood without a license, because the creator died less than 75 years ago. You'll notice that copyright law's extension is closely tied to Disney. Downloading college ebooks, instead of spending $400 on the latest version, which all they did was change the spelling of a few words, and called V87 12458281648391846 of the book, and require it for your college class, even though they only use a single paragraph from chapter 13, which is a quote from a $5 book they offer in most bookstores, and then fail you from the class if you have V87 12458281648391845. Instead, even more evil is if only the problem set ordering is different. So when prof says to do 1, 5, and 12 and 14, you're not solving the same problems, but the rest of the book is identical. Downloading scientific papers from C-Hub. In order to explain science publishing, I always describe it as a system so awful, their version of the Pirate Bay won industry awards. I always wonder a little about people who like to pipe up with just right to the authors. They're usually happy to share their work for free, like we're living 40+ years ago. Maybe I'm denying the authors their share of warm fuzzies, but I'm not gonna bother writing the authors. I can download the paper and be on to the methodology section before I could even finish phrasing my email. Hi there. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Love your work. If you don't mind, could you spare a few minutes to email me a copy? I need it for an argument on Reddit. Thanks in advance. I absolutely agree with this. As someone who has been published several times, I'd rather you just go download my stuff illegally than reach out to me. Writing to the author is so much time and work. When you're writing your own paper, you often can't tell immediately from the abstract if this is a paper you necessarily want to cite or not. So for a paper that has 50 citations, you'll probably sift through 100s of papers to find the information you're looking for. People who tell you just to reach out to the author probably haven't had to write extensively. Taking food from dumpsters. Linus knows what's up. A feast is a feast. Never know if someone threw away iron ore, or maybe an entire pink cake. Living off the grid without a permit. I was so into that whole lifestyle until I heard all the troubles people encounter with it. Shooty. Please explain more. Downloading ROMs of old games. We all know you don't own any of those games, but if companies aren't willing to re-release them, then it should be good to download ROMs online. Copyright law really needs an overhaul. If Jaws or the original Star Wars trilogy or other total classic films were only released on Betamax, nobody would blame you for downloading a RIP. Rather than hunting down a player and paying thousands for an original copy, movies at least keep their copyright content available. The majority of video game rights don't seem to give a frick. Shout out to Square Enix though. You can still buy newly pressed copies of Chrono Cross etc. on their website. Yep. My general rules of thumb are, if I already owned the game at some point in the past, I'm not going to feel guilty about emulating it however many years later unless it's still readily available. My other is if the product is not supported in any modern way, with no easy way to obtain it legitimately, then I'm not gonna feel bad either. If it's readily available, I've never owned it. I pay? Paying for someone else's parking meter. Opposition in my country.
Бро, где водка и балалайка в нике?
Pirating media that isn't available for purchase in your area. You weren't going to get my money either way. Personally, I feel like any media that is over 30 years old should automatically have a Creative Commons license. At that point, everyone made their money. Just let people enjoy it for free. There's an incredible number of orphan works that are out of print and no one is allowed to duplicate for legal reasons, and often the original creator can't be found. Stuff is literally getting lost forever because of this problem. Loitering in a park. I've always wondered why this is illegal in some places. The point of a park is to loiter. I've always wondered why this is illegal in some places. Because homelessness. It's not illegal to not have a home, but you better believe there are dozens of laws that are directed at, or primarily affect the homeless. Exposing the crimes of the government. In Australia at the moment, the government is continuing to pursue through the legal system, at great cost, the whistleblower witness Kay and his lawyer Bernard Collatery. Both men are accused of revealing information about the government removing resources from anti-terrorism at a time when it was dangerous, and instead diverting those government resources to spy on Timor-Leste, a friend and ally, for the commercial gain of corporations. At the time, Timor-Leste was just emerging from a 24-year genocidal Indonesian operation, was extremely poor and had very few resources. Withdrawal of care and terminal illness in some places. Unfortunately, Love Cali and its dying with dignity law. It's given people control over their own lives in these circumstances, and I think that's fair. In many municipalities, tiny homes are illegal. It's also not legal in most places to build small neighborhoods anymore. Roads have to be extra wide. No dual resident dwellings. Can't have more than one front door, etc. Your typical near downtown small, cute, friendly neighborhoods couldn't be built today. Loitering. You can't stand here. What? Well, you can stand there, just not for too long. What's too long, when I say so? Making photocopies of sheet music. Some people may disagree with me. When I was in high school, I started with an incredible music teacher, had a master's degree, super smart guy, great at teaching us, but turns out he did peeing on the side and got fired mid-semester. When the next year came around and they hired a new teacher, she was actually terrible, only qualified to teach choir, not anything band, and she threw out her entire pep band music folder, because she didn't think we were legally allowed to have some of the music in it. Well, thanks to that we started the season with like 4 songs. It was embarrassing. It literally didn't even matter whether we had the rights or not, because who in the frick is going to sue a high school for playing a song 20 times a year for no profit? My dad used to work as a choir director. He'd buy sheet music and technically he'd have to buy as many copies as he'd need for the choir members. That would have been prohibitively expensive, so my job was to scan every page so we could print copies as needed. The publishers we bought from found it suspicious we only bought 1 copy of books and tried selling us more. But my dad knew there was no way they could actually know we were making copies, so we just ignored them. There was never a problem. Singing in the shower. Pennsylvania law. I still do it. Lol. Criminal scum. To the gallows. You cannot own more than 75 salamanders in the state of Illinois. How the frick am I gonna start salamander trafficking now? Frick Illinois. Illinois has enough cold-blooded, slimy, amphibious monsters running around. Jaywalking and crossing the street on red lights, as a pedestrian, when there are no cars around. Taking food from an employer that was about to get thrown away anyway. Oh yeah, that second one is very, very stupid. I worked at a diner while in college, and saw plenty of people get fired for eating. Like, the kitchen would mess something up, or something extra would get made, and the servers would have to just throw it away, instead of eating it or boxing it up to take home. It was so incredibly dumb. On top of dumb, it's wasteful. It could help someone. There is so much unspoiled food going to the garbage, and so many people starving, in first world countries. Using your own wheat grown on your own fields to feed your family bread when Congress says you can't, because the wheat was grown on an acre of your land Congress designated as not for wheat. Unexpected Wickard v. Filburn spelling. Supreme Court ruled against a man who was charged with feeding his own livestock with his own grain that he grew, because he grew too much than what was permitted by law to sell. So he used it to feed his livestock. Pirating games when the actual company doesn't make a single cent off them anyway. Looking at you, Nintendo. Fun fact. Do you remember those black, different shaped cartridges and blue ones? Those were all technically pirate games. Those companies didn't want to pay Nintendo's high licensing fees and engineered their cartridges to break the NES's licensing DRM check. Paying someone else's parking meter so it doesn't expire. Dual citizen. In some countries. In Texas, you may not hold public office if you deny a supreme being. Check out Section 4 for some ironic humor. Edit. Of the state constitution. Section 4 of what? Handing out water to people waiting in line to vote. I worked an election as a poll worker. I helped manage the crowd basically. A girl had a shirt on with the candidate she supported. I asked her kindly to cover her shirt that once she was at the 100-foot marker, it would be considered campaigning. She had nothing to put on, so she had to go into the bathroom and turn her shirt inside out, and then she could return to the line. I did not like having to do this, but there was the rules. I was just there to make peace about the entire thing. I also had a group of union workers threaten me with their attorney because they said I was intimidating their workers, like I knew who was who. So about 30 to 45 minutes later, some suit shows up, asks me what was going on. I told him that beyond that 100-foot marker, nobody can have campaign memorabilia and or campaign material, as it was considered campaigning. He agreed, walked over to the union guys, told them, and drove away. That's illegal. It is illegal for Esther on some Kansas to sell cherry pie a la mode on Sunday.